Welcome to Brain River High School's Guide to Using Reference Images. Now I know some of you are thinking, why do I need to use reference images? Recently on Twitter, there was a hashtag called Artist Confessions, and one of the most popular confessions was using reference? Most professional artists were like, are you kidding me? If you're questioning whether or not you need to use reference, I have a simple solution for you. Ask yourself this question. Are you better at drawing or painting than Norman Rockwell? Let me help you with your answer. No, you are not. Look, people, using reference is not something that you need to confess. It's something that we should all be doing. Look at the master himself, Norman Rockwell, and how he's transforming that photo that he has into the image that he needs. He's using it as a guidepost and then making it so much better. Norman Rockwell would direct photographer Clemens Kleiser on exactly what he needed and how to tell the story. So they had this partnership to get exactly the reference that Rockwell needed. In this photo, you're seeing Rockwell directing one of his models. I need you to hold that tray just like that. Get your face like this. Feel like this in this moment. It's very important to note that Norman Rockwell was not a slave to his reference shots. Yes, he had Clemens help him and he directed Clemens on what exactly he needed, but notice the changes that he makes to his work. He's using it to help him as a guidepost to get to his destination. And that's how you need to think when you're using reference photos. It's true, just being a copier isn't flexing your creativity. I would agree with that. In fact, there are things that can copy way better than you. They're called copy machines. So we're going to show you how to use photo reference properly as an artist. Ah! What is that? Is that the Mona Lisa on the left? It's terrifying. I can guarantee the artist on the right did not use reference. In fact, these two images look like they were separated at birth. Nailed it. First thing you need to do when using photo reference is to identify that gray area, that in between of how much you're actually going to use from your photo reference into your final image. Well, to figure that out, you need to ask the question, why? Why am I using this? Why did I take this photo, or why did I find this reference in the first place to help me get to my final destination, which is my amazing image that everyone's going to go, oh, you made that? There has to be a reason. All the best intentions in the world are not going to save you if you don't have the right resources. It's like being in the desert without water or survival training. So as much as Cecilia Jimenez wanted to restore this painting that was deteriorating, her end results ended up looking like something that belongs in a zoo. Learning a little anatomy from the proper resources would have been a big help for her. See, the key is to understand what you're looking at and not simply draw what you think you see. The next step is to combine your references. Just don't use one source, use multiple sources. Combine to get the best possible image you can. A great way to think about it is to use one photo reference for the face, maybe another one for the lighting, or another one to help think of the color scheme. Again, helping to get all the different possibilities you could see to get to your destination, which is creative success. Inspiration comes from many places, but it's important to realize that even though you're inspired by something, that you don't steal that idea outright. Hungry Jack's, for example, has been sued by multiple fast food companies for being a little too close, not only in the way that they look, but also in the recipes. One of the biggest copyright violations of all time was when Shepard Fairey took one of Manny Ramirez's photos and put a filter on it and just wrote "Hope" below it. That ended up being a tremendous lawsuit over who owned the intellectual rights to this image. Shepard lost. Don't be a loser and lose too by using somebody else's idea or image. The best way to avoid copyright is to create your own references. Plus, it's a lot of fun. And besides, if you're creating your own reference, you know what you need. It's important to analyze our process. This is master comic book artist Alex Ross, carefully planning what exactly he needs in order to accomplish his final image. The image on the right does not happen by accident. It's a slow build, and yes, I can show you the black and white before the color's laid down, but like magicians, when we watch another magician work, it's important to see the very basic steps of each little trick so we can figure out how to do it for ourselves. He saw that he needed chains, so he found chains and used it as reference. He also needed to depict someone holding a small child, so he found photo reference from a magazine or a book that he was able to use as he drew that part of his image. Again, I want to reference this. It's so important. We are not copy machines. Do not copy the reference exactly. Have fun. Experiment a little bit. Show some life and energy. Otherwise, just use the photograph and say you're a photographer. When analyzing this image, you can clearly see all the various changes. Yes, you can see he's put a painting in the background. Spider-Man is outside the window. Yes, he's used really good reference here, but there's enough changes you can see that the artist is experimenting and not beholden to just what's in the photo. It's also important to ask, is the reference that you have necessary? Well, I argue in order to get this painting, it absolutely is. You're not faking that lighting. You need the reference to get there. And I cannot recommend this more highly than what I'm going to say to you right now. Take the reference photos yourself. First of all, you're going to be avoiding copyright immediately. Second of all, you're going to get better at telling stories with photos. You'll get better at understanding light and composition. It'll just make you a better visual person. It's also important that we look for the weird elements in photos. Sometimes strange things happen, or we could be looking at reference that is fake. With the power of Photoshop, there are a lot of fake images out there. Not gonna lie, this looks awesome. Unfortunately, this is also fake. And don't worry, that Navy diver is not shark food. One of the greatest photo hoaxes of all time was the Cottingley Fairy hoax of 1917. Why, even the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle, believed that these girls had photographed real fairies. That's right, these two girls went down by a waterfall, took these paper cutouts, and said, "Look, we found fairies!" And the whole world, not just Floridians, believed them. It wasn't until the 1980s that they admitted it was all a hoax. Avoid overexposing your reference, and what this means is there's too much light hitting this poor woman's face, which makes it difficult for the artist to see the form. In the photography world, we call this a blown out image, which means the light is basically flattened everything out. Instead, focus on the lighting, have fun with it, be creative, and use the light to tell a story. Can the lighting, I don't know, create mood? This is photo reference on the left taken by my friend, Ron Spears, who's the head of Savannah College of Art and Design's illustration department. Look at the dramatic lighting he's able to capture to help tell a story, and how he brilliantly brings that into his illustration on the right. How do you get that weird superpower lighting? Well, you take a light and you uplight yourself. Sometimes this also works for scary movie or horror type pictures as well. Again, you can't fake this. You need to have the reference to give you the best possible image. With all the technology that we have now, you can take photographs with clarity that are amazing, even with your phone. But what that does is it hardens the edge of everything that you're looking at. And as an artist, if you put everything in with a hard edge, it may distract what actually is the focal point. So you need to be aware of that. One of my favorite artists for my students to study, especially when it comes to animals and animal portraits, is Jennifer Gennari. She uses obviously great photo reference, but you can see how she's controlling soft edges and hard edges to create focal points. Like the closer you get to the animal's eyes, the sharper her strokes become. The further away you get, like closer to the edges, the looser it becomes, and it helps the audience focus on where she wants us to look. It's masterful. So you think you found the perfect reference. Just as a check though, make sure that you have other references to make sure that you have the right colors, because color sometimes lies to us. You could put anything in a different color and change the way that it looks. So make sure that you have multiple sources so that you can study separately so you know that you have the right proper image. This is artist Christopher Burdett. You can see how he used the one photo reference to create all these images on the right. Christopher would readily admit the image on the left wasn't that good because he wasn't using any reference, but as soon as he got the reference he needed, boom, the image is so much better. And creating your own reference can be fun. Look at all the props and toys you can have to get much better images. I think he's having way too much fun on this one. If I can leave with you one impression, it's this: all artists need reference. I'm Farrell, and this has been a Braden River High School art production.